Okay, a little bit later in the episode, I'm going to tell you more about the hormone fixer because I know you're dying to know. This little bad boy supplement that I created, if I do say so myself, is amazing at so many things, so many benefits. So it raises your natural testosterone, ladies, that GSD hormone. It helps with weight loss. It helps improve insulin sensitivity. It helps with anti-aging. It increases your own growth hormone, the anti-aging hormone that helps with the wrinkles and the stamina, energy, focus, brain. It also helps with your mood and lowers your response to stress. So you're just going to have to wait a little bit more. We'll tell you more about it. The hormone fixer. So this is going to be a game changer for you. And you can probably hear the excitement in my voice. The latest introduction, the latest member of the family to the fixer line is Metabolism Fixer. And this, oh my God, I formulated this just for all my people out there that need to lose weight, that need help in the weight loss department, that can't lose weight no matter what they do, that feel like they have a slow metabolism, and that might be thinking of trying all those peptides out there, you know, the Beverly Hills soccer mom drug of choice for weight loss peptides. Or even if you're on them already and you're like, man, these are really expensive and I'm still not losing weight, add in Metabolism Fixer. Here's what I did. I took the power of T2, which increases your basal metabolic rate while you are sitting there watching Netflix. You're burning fat while you're watching Netflix. I combined it with a very unique patented ingredient called Suppressa. Suppressa has multiple clinical trials backing its efficacy in reducing your appetite, decreasing snacking, and providing way more control over your food intake. It is amazing. We also see improved emotional well-being, just decreased food cravings all around, reduced hunger, and weight management. Add on top of that, we have green tea extract, we have purple forest purple tea extract, both of which affect the metabolism in a very positive way without the jitters of normal fat burning supplements out there from the 1980s and 90s, right? The ones that made you feel like you're having a heart attack. You will not have that in any of my supplements, Thyroid Fixer or Metabolism Fixer. But Metabolism Fixer, ooh, yeah, we kicked it up a notch. It is in powder form, so you can drink it through your day. It's going to flavor your water. We got orange crush and refreshing citrus. I love them both. It is going to keep you under control all day long. So you throw a couple scoops in your water bottle in the morning, throw a scoop or two in your water bottle throughout the day. You will have fat burning and appetite control the entire day for what? An eighth of a price of the peptides? Oh my God, you can't go wrong. So grab some Metabolism Fixer today. Please let me know how you do on it. I am super excited for you. Super excited. There are so many of you listening to this podcast who are unapologetically driven type A individuals, and I know who you are. So I promise you this is going to change your life. Do not turn this one off. I wish I could make this big announcement in the title, like, listen to this, please. I'm interviewing Dr. Doug Brackmann, and let me give you a little background. So I would say about a year ago, I stumbled upon his interview on the Ben Greenfield podcast, and I got to tell you, I wasn't even going to click on it. I can't even remember the title, but I clicked on it, I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, this guy gets me. He wrote the book Driven. So I got the book. I listened to it and I said, this book was literally written to speak to me. And I have since given it to many of my friends and other individuals who are also type A drivens. And they say the same thing. This book was written literally directly for me. So I had to reach out to Doug because he has literally changed my life and the life of so many different people with his information in his book, with his research that he's done on really the genetic component and how the brain is wired in this 10% of the population. If you are driven, you are in a small percentage of the population. And I'm going to tell you, this book also helps you look at your world a little bit differently, because I would always look at the outside world and think, am I weird? Am I strange? Why aren't I a follower? Why aren't I a sheep? Why don't I just go with the flow? Why do I have my own thoughts and feelings on things that seem to contradict the mainstream thought process? And in reading this book, I realized it's because I'm in that 10% of driven, and you are too. So you have to listen to this interview, because we're deep diving into self-sabotage. Now, if you are a driven, or if you don't even know if you're driven or not, how about you listen, right? How about you listen to the interview and then you can read the book? But if you are a driven, you will have these really good traits about you, and they will allow you to get shit done on a daily basis. And then you will have absolute faulty traits, because listen, we're not all good. We're not all bad. And those traits can really trip you up. And you can get into some issues, including self-sabotage, because of the way your brain is wired. And we're going to get into that with Dr. Doug. And we're going to talk about things that you can do to not trip yourself up, to see it before it comes, to rewire your brain. So let me just tell you about Doug. Dr. Doug Brackmann, he's one of the leading psychologists to some of the most successful and driven entrepreneurs, pro athletes, executives, Navy SEALs, and other top performers. He has worked with all of these top performers, and he has created a driven assessment. So if you don't know you're driven or not, you can go to his website, which we'll have in the show notes, take his assessment, see if you're driven, and driven shooting meditation. As crazy as it sounds, we get into this too, because drivens have to meditate with their eyes open. We are very visual. So by combining the components of meditation, long-range shooting, and therapy, Dr. Doug helps those with driven characteristics, often wrongfully diagnosed, by the way, as ADD, ADHD, or OCD, to harness their hunter ability so they can stop self-sabotaging, find fulfillment in life, and achieve ultimate success. So you can find him at iamdriven.com. We will have all the links in the show notes, but please, please, please enjoy one of my favorite interviews of all time with Dr. Doug Brackmann. Doug, thank you so much for joining me. I've been wanting to have you on here for so long. Well, ever since your book changed my life, as I'm sure that you hear from many, many, many people. It's kind of comical, but your book, Driven, when I listened to it, oh gosh, whatever we had, over a year ago. And after finding out on Ben Greenfield's podcast, it really did. It changed my life. It has transformed many people that I've passed it on to. We actually were giving it to patients for a while, because most of my listeners are type A driven individuals, and that's who I like working with anyway. So thank you so much for jumping on here. We're going to talk about a ton of different stuff, but thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
I've been looking forward to this too. And my heart, as we were talking before we started, is my youngest daughter is definitely driven. And it is a different world for us than the others. And really, you're not broken. I'm not broken. Neither are they. They're not stupid, slow, and lazy. So it's just, they're different. So
yeah, no, it really is. And the biggest takeaway, and I think some of my listeners can relate as well, is that when I was reading your book, even prior to that, I always felt odd. I always felt different. I always felt like the odd person out, because I can't imagine retiring. I can't imagine stopping. I thrive on the next thing. I mean, I have a license in scuba diving. I know how to snowboard and ski. I know how to archery hunt, gun hunt. I mean, I can't stop. I can't stop. So the biggest takeaway is that you're not, like you said, you're not broken. You're not odd, but you are part of the 10%.
Yeah. And so that, if you've never heard this before, all the listeners out there, well, let me start with where I first started to feel that difference. So 3rd grade, 4th grade, there was this overwhelming awareness about how stupid school was. Like, what are we doing memorizing words for vocabulary and multiplication tables, like where this is stupid, where the rest of the class seemed to just go right along with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's feeling like you're an odd duck, feeling like there's something different about you as part of it. And this chronic aching feeling that I was never quite doing enough. Mm-hmm. And it's that feeling like you know you had homework, but you can't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And it's this feeling of impending doom. And this was, I was born in 1968 and went to elementary school in the 70s, and ADD, ADHD was not part of our vocabulary yet.
Right.
And so I was just the kid that got bored easy in class. Shut up and work harder. And I come from a very interesting family household, but whatever. But that evolved very quickly into pretty profound disruptions in my world. My kind of game with school was to bullshit my way through it the best I could, get the highest amount of grade I could with the least amount of work. Mm-hmm. And I got really good grades up until about junior year. And then what's the point? And more is the way I'm wired. I'm wired for more. Anything that makes me feel like I'm achieving or getting dopamine specifically, I potentially can become addicted to. And
that's the downside.
I discovered cocaine when I was 16, 15. When I was 18, I was in a locked psych ward. So, it immediately took my life, and it just ran with it. Dropped out of high school and really blew up my life early. Thank goodness. Obviously, here it is 35 years later and got my shit together. So it seems to the outer world. But that sent me at 18, I had that awareness of this, I know I'm messed up, but I'm not that bad. Like really, like this, I'm not a drug addict, high school dropout. I'm not going to live that life. So I started to get my life back together, but always had this feeling that there was something missing or wrong, or something could always be better in my world. Mm-hmm. My father, hyper driven. He's 85 next week. He's just stopped operating 2 years ago. He's a neurosurgeon.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Was doing 19 at the peak of he was doing 15 to 18 surgeries a week. He was one of the highest operating surgeons in the world. And he set the bar for me to, if I'm going to do something, do it all the way. Don't give in, don't give up. So by the time I got to graduate school and really passionate about psychology, it was 1991. And that was pre-genetic genome being understood. Mm-hmm. And pre-functional MRI. And so we really didn't understand what was going on inside the human animal as much as we do now. But I went down a path of, my doctoral dissertation. And despite what anyone ever tells you about why they're a psychologist, the real reason is we're there trying to figure out our own shit. So we are. And those that, deny it and try to run away from it, be careful.
Yeah, I love it.
So, my doctoral dissertation was about self-sabotage and about why the human animal seems to have, the best ideas going on in the brain, but then there's some kind of resistance to following through. Mm-hmm. And that has been my last 25 years of work. And I teach drivens, and what driven is, in a nutshell, very simple. 4,000, 5,000 years ago, the human animal started to adapt the environment very simply into a much safer, predictable world. The agricultural revolution made the human species not have to struggle as much for survival. Mm-hmm. Allowed for culture to develop, allowed all these wonderful things. But, and I always give credit to Tom Hartman, one of the early books that I read about this in the mid-90s, he came up with the hunter-farmer theory. His kid was profoundly ADD, ADHD, and the school system started to pathologize the kid. Like, your kid's broken, there's something wrong with him, there's this thing called ADD, and let's get him on meds, let's make him conform to this world. He just said, there's nothing wrong with my kid. There must be a good genetic or biological reason why a good slice of the population's like this. And he started to talk about cultural anthropology and how basically over the last 4,000 years, most of the human herd has adapted to a very slow, predictable, boring world. And I emphasize boring there because for me, it just seems, like most of the world, they're going through working a W-2 job and everything is okay.
Yep.
And for me, it makes me want to swallow my own tongue to imagine sitting in a cubicle for 8 hours a day somewhere.
Yes.
And I'm not wired that way. And so I took his work and really brought science to it, because I am such a cynic and a doubter, also part of our personality. I don't believe anybody. And so I try to figure it out myself. And you put us in, thank goodness for ADD, ADHD, not for the label, but for the research dollars behind it, because they have done tens of thousands of studies trying to demonstrate how ADD is impacted by meds and blah, blah, blah. In other words, they've done a ton of functional MRIs on us, and we're different. And very simply, the difference is that we use our eyeballs to go through the world. We're hunters. And that hunting wiring is that we are very prone to anything that has novelty and lights our dopamine.
Mm-hmm. Next shiny object.
Shiny object syndrome. And and we, more importantly, and probably more helpful to your audience, is really the identity piece behind this, because the genetics of our reward system, we don't do boredom. What is boredom? Boredom is a feeling that there's something missing or wrong right now. Mm-hmm. And my doctoral dissertation, most important, powerful part of that is most of us are really not in control of our own lives. It's this thing below our nose, this body that seems to have a decision-making power of its own. And the way it does that is with emotion. Mm-hmm. And so if the body is feeling scared and you look at your checking account balance, you will see evidence that it's scary. Like, oh, what did I spend it on? And so that's self-fulfilling prophecy, mm-hmm. to where I'm making the outer world fit how I feel about it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And very simple concept. And most importantly, we're all, because of the human, this is biology. This is not philosophy. This is not psychology. This is biology. So we have this operating system down below our nose that wants a familiar, predictable world based upon past experience. But we have this thing between our ears that can imagine unbelievably fantastic worlds.
Yeah.
I'm 54 years old and I can look in the mirror and imagine myself with a six-pack.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
But, and this was my doctoral work, and why is January so horrible at the gym, is because everybody's monkey mind, or this thing between your ears, is dragging the body along for the ride. And you're going to do it, and some of us have gorillas in our heads that are very mean to the body and drive the body, and some of us have little cheerleaders. And why NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, doesn't necessarily work for the long term, it doesn't work in the long term, is because the body eventually resists, and the body wants to return to baseline familiar.
Yep.
And so all of your clients that are, trying to feel better, yes, you can feel better between your ears, but your body's going to resist the behaviors that continue the thing that helped you feel good.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is really a podcast for my patients, but the other listeners too, because everybody listening, they're all striving for that optimal. They all want, deep down, they want their life back. They don't want to be fat, tired, bald, frustrated. They want to have that badass self back that they once were. Part of them does.
Part of them
does.
And that is the key to this, because there's another part of me, and I'll tell you the story. Why am I a psychologist? Mm-hmm. So my dad's a medical doctor, and I was in pre-med, got into, good school, went to SC, and was just getting hammered by organic chemistry. Like, not my forte of memorizing a bunch of crap for no reason whatsoever. I mean, it's
not fun. It's
not fun. And I happened to be dating a very attractive young lady at the time who was making me insane. And I went into a psychologist's office for the first time in my life at 21 years old. And he gave me an assignment. He gave me a homework assignment that was very simple. He said, pick something in your world that you've been beating yourself up, that you haven't done, that's relatively easy. But more importantly, it's not about you doing it. It's about observing what happens when you try to do it how you sabotage yourself, how you, but most importantly, what's going on inside your head and what's going on inside your body. And so Blockbuster Video, this dates the story.
Yes.
They've completely eradicated this problem for human animals, but we used to have to return videos. Mm-hmm. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the thing's sitting on my coffee table, 3 days late, 4 days late. Oh, shit, I got to take that back. I'll do it later. I'll do it after I eat. I'll do whatever. I go home and I literally take this Blockbuster Video and wedged it against the door. So I couldn't open the door and leave without this thing in my hand.
Right.
But what I did was took it down the front seat of my car and it sat there for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, because every time I looked at it, it was confirming to how I felt about myself. Partly, yeah, I'm kicking ass in organic chemistry. Yeah, but I'm still a piece of crap because I'm not returning the video. So which one am I? that was really the insight that started to develop. And the magic happened on the final day, and I'm just like everybody else. I put everything off, and it is the day of therapy. And it's like, I am going to return this damn thing, or I'm not walking into his office and feeling that shame. So I hear myself in that morning, driving to Blockbuster Video, listening to my head tell me that it's an act of God that I don't return this video because I just missed this red light. And now I'm really going to be late for school. And those excuses that I were making was just, for the first time in my life, I started to be just in awe of how crazy I was. Like, this is nuts. Mm-hmm. Finally get to Blockbuster, get in the parking lot, park the car, walk up, put the thing in the slot. What did my brain, what did this shame-based thing tell me?
Didn't do it fast enough?
Perfect. Look how clear as a bell. Look how hard it was for you to return a Blockbuster Video. You're never going to amount to crap. And the first time in my life, I laughed.
That's awesome that you could see it though in real time.
Bingo.
In real time.
Real time. And so, I give the metaphor in my book about monkeys and elephants. And the Buddha observed, he was just a psychologist, wacko psychologist. He saw human beings very much in this light, that we had this elephant of a body that seemed to be making its own life choices. And then we had these monkeys up on top of this elephant trying to get it to do what we want. Mm-hmm. And the classic question was, and this is that insightful moment that changed my life, which one is Doug? Am I the monkey mind, or am I my impulsive body? Am I the one who can imagine wonderful worlds, or am I the one who's actually sabotaging it to get to normal? Mm-hmm. And it's a trick question. Everyone who's listening to this, think about the answer for a second. And most people say, more monkeys, more elephants, whatever. It's a trick question, because the answer is you are both, and capital A-N-D, neither.
Oh,
Go.
damn.
There's the one that neither piece is, I caught it in real time. And so that is you're not just the monkey mind, nor are you just the elephant. I'm the third, observing ego. Eckhart Tolle and all the pop theorists, pop psychologists around this talk about this, but it's just raw consciousness.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense when you explain it that way, because I think, well, hopefully it makes sense to the listeners. To put it contextually for them, it would be very much like them going, and you mentioned this in the book, so I appreciate that, about eating right? You mm-hmm. have this plan, and it's funny, I always say both, and even in terms of how I treat patients, like we have to look at the thyroid and fix that and fix your hormones, but you can't be going out eating McDonald's. We got to do both and. Like, we have to change both things and do it at the same time. But what will happen, like we were talking about before, is we'll get someone optimized. We'll do medication. We'll do thyroid. We'll optimize that. We'll do the hormones, get the insulin down, gut all, fine, good, great. But then they'll start to sabotage themselves and come back and say, well, I think I need more thyroid hormone. I think I need more hormone. I think I need a better diet. I think I need more supplements. Is there a supplement to fix this? And it really kind of comes back to, no, you got to fix this up here. So what happened? Can you put that story in context of, let's say, weight loss, let's say improvement of health? Yeah.
And so toxic perfectionism is often a thing that drivens, as I call us. So what I call it, I rebranded the ADD, ADHD, chronic discontented. They call us reward deficient people. We have reward deficiency. That's the genetic pathology, crazy thing for it. We're Navy SEALs and we are the badasses of the world. We really are. But in context of this, thing we have to learn as a driven person, we don't have a choice. I will, if I listen to my elephant and my monkey mind colludes with it, meaning that I have an impulse to go after dopamine and my monkey mind rationalizes and justifies it, I'm dead. It's no different than a chocolate chip cookie, though.
Yeah.
And so that chocolate chip cookie is, you're insulin dependent and you're really for real. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to die. But it is that moment that you said, that insight, real-time moment. And toxic perfectionism is the belief in perfection. And I had a perfect food day. And I'm an Ironman triathlete. I'm very familiar with hacking my diet and neuropeptides and all the stuff to recover. But all of those things help, but they don't make up for this psychology that I believe the lie that I will eventually get there. And you hear it 1,000 different ways of, there is no there. Most important takeaway from me is that I am wired to need a finish line.
Yeah.
I am wired to, and that I need this shiny thing in the future to look forward to. Otherwise, I will get depressed and crazy. Mm-hmm. Yes. More importantly, I will start to become impulsive and eat chocolate chip cookies and do cocaine. So, it's in that moment to moment awareness that, and you can do an eating meditation, very simple to do. And the goal of it is discernment between monkeys and elephant. Another way to say it is between hunger and appetite. Mm-hmm. Appetite lives between your ears, and I can look at a chocolate chip cookie and it's like, ooh, I can feel my impulsive elephant want it. Then I can hear the monkey mind start the battle. Well, you deserved it. You worked out today. Then you can have the other side of, oh my God, that's going to break 4-day streak of no sugar.
Yep.
And in that moment, you are neither the monkey mind nor that impulsive elephant.
Yeah.
And I am here, and right now in this present moment, do I really want the cookie or do I need the cookie?
Can you actually stop and ask yourself that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's called meditation. And so meditation, in the way I teach meditation, is called presenting. So it's a presenting practice.
And it's the only way drivens can meditate, by the way, because I've tried them all. Tried them all.
Once you experience it, and again, most people in the world, 95% of the people in the world are not driven. They're not wired like us. And they created all the meditations. They created a lot of the religions. They created a lot of this thing out there that it doesn't work for us.
Right.
It don't work.
No.
Especially with the occipital dominance, meaning that we use our eyeballs to make sense of the world. And if you try to meditate with your eyes closed as a driven person, you feel crazy.
You're crazy. You do.
Oh my God, there's so much going on. So in your head. But what this is, a eating meditation, staying on that track, is you look at a cookie and you can feel the impulse in the body to go towards it. You can also feel the impulse to like, oh God, I don't want to feel that. And I don't want all the shame associated with it. Mm-hmm. That's your elephant.
That's the elephant.
Monkey mind is in this dance of trying to convince you which impulse to follow. Key takeaway of all of this, especially the meditation piece, is that there is no impulse towards or against when you're in the present.
Okay.
So think about that, is that in the present moment, oh, I don't want that cookie, or you're not eating the cookie right now. That's in the future. Oh my God, if I do eat the cookie, oh my God, if I do eat the cookie, then I'm going to be bad at it. But right now, in this present moment, I'm not eating nor not eating the cookie. Like, I'm okay right now.
Okay. I can see that. Yep. Then you avoid the shame that comes if you do eat it, because that's another layer.
and the shame if you don't eat it.
Ah.
So seriously, it's like, well, I never reward myself. That's the key takeaway of that video. No matter what I do, I can use it as evidence that I'm a piece of crap and still not good enough.
And that's where people
no matter what I do, no matter how perfect my diet is, no matter what, you're always going to feel like you're not enough. And here's the other key takeaway of this is good enough is not a feeling. It's not. My doctoral dissertation, there's the contemplative look.
Yeah, there's a contemplative look for those that are listening and not viewing. Yeah.
But it's Dr. Jim Spira, the guy who shook my hand and said, "Congratulations, Dr. Brackmann," for the first time I ever got called doctor. Mm-hmm. What did my shame say? In turn, it was a reflex in my head, and I smiled about it. It's haha, they bought it.
They bought it. You fooled them. That was a big impact in your book when you said that. Because I'm like, oh man, that's so true.
The joke is, it's on my wall. Mm-hmm. Yes, it could have been better. And that's the freedom step is, yes, it could have been better, but it is good enough.
Yeah.
Like, 1850 calorie diet. It's like 1847. Yeah, but it wasn't that good because I ate the wrong kind of calories. I mean, you're going to make yourself insane.
Yep. And people do. People do make themselves insane. And
all of that is sabotage.
Sabotage. Yeah, I call it screw it syndrome, where they just go, well, screw it. I'm just going to eat this anyways because nothing I'm doing is working. So
exactly. And it's giving into the familiar, or just recreating the world that, it's the old, even though your world's full of horseshit, you have this weird belief there's a pony in here somewhere that's gonna, it's like, but this is normal wiring. Everybody on the planet struggles with it. And you see people, well, you don't have the struggles I do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And you openly start to talk about this, particularly with your doctor or whatever. And what is good enough? What is good enough?
I don't know.
Well, we're going to lose 2 pounds a week. All right. I lost 6. That's not good. That's harder on your liver. That's wait a second. Well, I lost half a pound.
Oh,
and that's terrible. Well, as you are able to actually look at yourself and look at the system or the processes that you're going for to optimize, and that's my joke about exercise. I mean, I was completely addicted to exercise. Doing long course triathlons, ridiculous.
Yep.
It truly is. It's ridiculous.
Yep. No, I get that addiction. Yeah. I've overcome it. So I get it.
And the most important part of that for me was that I can't stop exercising. It makes me homicidal. Mm-hmm. If I don't work out for 3 weeks or a month, I'm throwing water bottles out of my car at people. So it's
yeah.
So how much is enough versus what is too much?
Right. There's a fine line, especially when it comes to exercise or food or really any extreme choice. I mean,
every choice out there is this, and the brilliance of the Buddha was the middle path. And if I don't exercise enough, I'm a terrible husband. Mm-hmm. If I exercise too much, I'm a terrible husband. Mm-hmm. If I eat too much, I'm lethargic and I can't work out. If I don't eat enough, I can't work out and have good workouts. And so they're all interconnected. But what is good enough is an external thing that I put boundaries around that I can look at to see what got me this result.
Okay.
So for diet, very simple. We're going to follow this plan for 30 days and I'm going to do the best I can within this bandwidth or window of what is good enough. Mm-hmm. And I'm erring more on the side of over than under, but this is in just being honest with yourself about what you're doing, knowing that you can make these micro changes. James Clear, throughout to him, Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, read it. It's great. The psychology of it as much, but it's your elephant won't tolerate making big changes to your life. It will not. My dissertation looked at lottery winners. 78% of lottery winners within 3 to 5 years, they are broke, they're bankrupt, and their family hates them.
Too big of a change. Yep.
Too big of a change, the elephant can't handle it. So what is the one small change you can make to your diet this week and keep? And if you make big changes, you will blow it up. Or you'll do it for 3 weeks or a month, and then all of a sudden you're eating, you're eating nothing bundt cake like we had last night for dinner. So but if you're too restrictive and try to be too perfect, your elephant will say, F it, screw
biggest
it.
Loser. Look at the Biggest Loser. None of them have kept the weight off. It was too much and too fast and too extreme.
And so this slow, gentle pace, it's called mastery. And I believe driven people are wired for mastery. Mastery is letting go of the results as an identity and really grasping that I'm in process, that I'm a work in progress, using the results to optimize the process that is getting you there.
I like that.
So, what am I doing right that's getting me what I need to get?
Because if you look at it like a mastery course, like a mastery challenge as a driven, then it becomes something that you're working on every day as opposed to a judgment piece of whether you did it right or wrong.
Correct. And more importantly, then we can look at the wrongness and go, how did I get here? Rather than trying to cover it up or saying, forget about it, I don't want to use that as evidence for my shame. It's evidence that I can get better. I love that. It's not, that I'm good or bad. It's that, no, we're a work in progress, and I'm, give me something that I can get better at that really has no finish line. And if it gets a little dopamine charge in it, man, I'll master that. I'll
master that all day.
Master it. And things you can't master, you can't master are the things that you apply mastery for. And diet is perfect.
Yeah, changing eating. I mean, I was like that. I finally have mastered that, and I'm sure it'll always, come back and pop up every now and again. But that feeling of shame if I did eat something off diet, I ate the brownie. Right. Yeah, I did. I ate it. I ate the bun with my burger. Oh my God. And instead of beating myself up or going to the gym 3 times a day to work that off like I used to, I finally am past that, but yet I'm still in the place that I can still feel that with other people. When they say that they are like that, I feel it. I get it. I can still feel those feelings of guilt and shame from missing a day at the gym, from overeating, from whatever. So I know that there are people that still struggle with that. And then what would you say to the people that, I always talk about this, that little voice in your head when you do lose? Let's say you lost 20 pounds. Maybe you still have 10 to go, but that little voice is going, you did awesome. You lost 20 pounds. Now you deserve, and you touched on this earlier, you deserve that. You deserve a little bit of this, and you deserve the brownie and the bun with your burger and the beer and the pizza.
And it's learning to feel the elephant. And meaning that there's always going to be part of the elephant that is going to impulsively go towards the reward of a brownie.
Yeah.
And the elephant doesn't care about the results. He doesn't. He just wants what he wants and wants it now. But the relationship between the timekeeper or this monkey mind and 2 words that I teach all my drivens, then what? I eat the brownie, then what?
Then what?
And it's like, because then you can propel, the monkey can take the elephant and go, I don't want to feel that way.
Yep.
How will I feel if I don't eat the brownie? Better, but I'm going to have a brownie Friday. So, and that delayed gratification and, what's good enough for Monday is different for Friday. And being able to have flexibility and sense of control that I can eat the brownie, but then that's, if you want to do points or you want to do calories or whatever, however you're keeping score, it's like, I can, but I don't want that. What I want is this. And giving the elephant choices, because if you tell the elephant no, it's going to figure out how to get it. So
it's true. You're going to figure out one way or another.
So learning to work with the elephant is what I do as a meditation practitioner, as a psychologist. And it's, you gotta learn to listen to it because it's going to win anyway.
I love that. And your style of meditation, we didn't even get into that, but you're offering the viewers I think it's 10% off your driven meditation course, which is great. Thank you so much. And I highly encourage everyone to get your book and to do the course, because it really is a different style of meditation. And it's one that you can dig into and enjoy instead of be frustrated with. Because in this world, well, listen, we hear about meditation all the time. And I talk about you need to reduce your cortisol. And yes, part of that is meditating.
This is my third wave of mindfulness. Oh my God, everybody in the world's got to meditate since, the early 90s. I've been doing this forever. And it goes away, don't worry, because people figure out meditation sucks. Because if you're meditating correctly, 6 weeks after starting a meditation practice, your reports of anxiety will go dramatically up.
I heard you say that before.
You will feel worse because what you're doing is actually increasing the awareness of what's happening in your body.
And that's scary.
And everybody walking on this planet is more anxious than they need to be. Everybody.
Very true.
And so knowing that, and very simply this question, and I'll leave you guys with all of it, the simple question, is what's happening in my body right now an accurate reflection of my immediate, and I mean right now, reality?
Mm-hmm.
These four walls and this, if you hear in your head, well, I don't think I'm feeling what I should be feeling. That's crazy. Compared to worms, compared to whom? Well, if 99 people were in a room, they wouldn't feel, it's like you're talking out of your butt. I mean, it's like, what? And so there's no way to answer that question. When you curiously explore that, is what's happening in my body an accurate reflection of the present? 99.99999% of the time, there is no saber-tooth tiger here. There's no cave bear. Present moment is safe. Safety is not a feeling. Safety is a state of being. And you'll feel better. In spiritual terms, that's called grace. So as you are experiencing the present, grace is a natural response of that. And all of a sudden, the cookie doesn't feel the same. It's like part of you will say, I want it more. Another part of you is less. And there's just this third thing that's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I hate the cookie. I love the cookie. I eat the cookie, then what? And it's like all of a sudden you just kind of, I'm over it. I don't want to eat the cookie.
And just those simple things, asking yourself, then what? Asking yourself, how, am I safe in this moment? Those simple things can be game changers for each decision that you make, whether it is a cookie or whether it's to snort the line of cocaine. I mean, those are, those are
don't
all.
Throw the water bottle. Yeah. Don't throw water bottles.
Yeah. Don't throw water bottles. Exactly. Yeah. I get it. Well, Doug, I know you have to go, but this has by far been one of my favorite interviews because it's been a life changer for me to read your book, to meet you, to be a part of the driven community. So I thank you so much for your time, for coming on here, because I know you're, like I said to you before we started recording, they need to hear it from not me. Because they're going to be like, oh, bullshit, Aim, come on.
So this, if you are driven, if it feels like you've always been broken or there's really might something be really deeply wrong with me, there isn't. There's a dopamine reward system center in your brain that really is different. I'm not pulling this stuff out of my butt. I did the research because I didn't believe myself. And there's nothing wrong with you.
And your book beautifully gets into the genetics. I love the genetics and epigenetics and how that ties together. So that fascinates me. But for my geeked out scientific nerds out there, definitely read the book because it explains it so well, and you can totally relate to the neuropeptide Y and everything that you explained in the book.
Yeah, I get into it. And but there's nothing wrong with you.
And the behaviors.
Well, thank you, Amy. I am now in your world. I will follow up with you. I'll send you I'll send you a big stack of books.
Sweet. Love it. Thank you. Yeah, we will be talking soon, Doug. Thank you so much for being on here. So now that you've heard all about the hormone fixer, I'm going to give you a challenge. If you actually listened to this podcast all the way to the end and you're still listening, you can use the code ThyroidFix10 THYROIDFIX10. Thyroid Fix 10 and get 10% off my store. This is only for people that listened all the way to the end. I want to know what you think about my products. Make sure you let me know. Love y'all.